Has your life ever became so unbearable you just felt like ending it all?
But I ended up trying to take my life.
Has anyone ever tried to stop you from such a final decision?
But my mom was my next of kin, so she said, no, don't do it.
Have you ever taken your anger out on God?
So on that third day when I woke up, I was angry with God. I said, God, why did you wake me up? I don't deserve this. I didn't want to live.
Today's episode is called It's Not Your Life to Take and features a powerful testimony from my friend, a Navy veteran and retired model named Shawnda.
I have suicidal thoughts sometimes.
She will share her dirty truth to help you get out of your dark place the same exact way her mother helped her, despite not being able to help herself. The Dirty Truth with Deante Young starts now.
It's a dirty truth for Deante Young. Hit a main course, yeah, the entree done. Pull up on the gang, all the fly day ones. Tune in, come and see what Deante done. It's a dirty truth for Deante Young. Hit a main course, yeah, the entree done. Pull up on the gang, all the fly day ones. Tune in, come and see what Deante done. Like, just vibe with it.
During your childhood, what was that like? I know personally, when it comes to thinking about my childhood, I think about just how insecure I was. What was your childhood like?
Very insecure. I was very tiny. I was very skinny. So people tease me and say, "Oh, you're pretty, but you're skinny. You know, I would like you, but you're just so bony and you're ugly." I got called ugly and skinny and big forehead and just all these mean things. So I grew up very insecure. But as I got older and got beautiful and turned into a butterfly, I don't let anybody tell me I'm not beautiful anymore.
Oh wow! So is that what that butterfly symbolizes?
Yes.
on your necklace?
And my mom, because my mom loved butterflies.
Wow.
So, yes.
That's amazing, because I wish that I would have had the problem that you had as far as people calling you skinny. Nobody called me skinny. They was just like, wait a minute. It's like, it's so funny. Like, I was always had this girlish figure, as you can see. You know, I feel like I go through puberty every week.
Yes.
You know, but I always say that if you look at the book up there, it's called "Face It, You're Toxic." It makes the case that every one of us have been abused in some way as a child, whether it was physical, mental, verbal, psychological, sexual, or even just overhearing your parents argue. We've all had some form of child abuse, and so with that being said, I know that when they were calling you, "Oh, look at you, little twig, look at your big forehead," that those are things that can make us have a bad relationship with ourselves, because other people are dictating how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
But I love the fact that you went through that, only because it enabled you to grow from it. You know, and that's the truth for all of us. Like I said, my childbearing hips, they won't quit even to this day. But because I have a great relationship with myself now,
That's right.
I can say, listen, whatever you say about me, if it doesn't define you, it can't confine you.
That's
You know,
right.
and I think that's the truth for you. So at what point did you get that butterfly attitude?
I'm going to tell you, when I got in my 20s, when I started modeling, because I was a model in my 20s, around 27, I had my first modeling gig.
Oh, wow.
And I was a swimsuit and lingerie model. So I did that for about 3 years. My son was about 3 years old, and I had the shape that was to die for.
Wow.
So that's when I got that butterfly effect, when I saw that I was getting that attention, and oh, you're beautiful, and I had this to die for body, and people was, trying to talk to me. And I'm like, these same people that call me ugly was trying to talk to me now.
Wow.
And it made me feel good. I said, you know what? I didn't give them the time of day. Because if you don't want me when I'm at my lowest, or if I'm little, then why do you want me now?
So how did you make that transition to get to where someone came? Did they come seeking you out to be a model?
Yes, they saw me at the mall.
Okay.
I was walking in the mall, and I had on my little heels and my little outfits. I used to dress so cute. And they just saw me at the mall, and they spotted me. It was a scout. And he said, "You would be a perfect model." And I was like, thought it was like a scam.
Yeah.
But it was legit. And he was from Chicago.
Wow.
So I traveled. I did a little traveling, but I gave it up because of my son. Because I wanted to be a good mom. So I gave up my career, what I really wanted to do. Plus, I was older. So usually models start at 19, but I was 27.
Wow.
So that, that kind of stumped me a little bit. But I did it for a while, and it was fun. I met some celebrities. I met like Jennings. I met Kevin Garnett. I met NFL players. I met NBA players. I met baseball players. I met plenty of people. I met a lot. Snoop Dogg.
Oh wow!
I met Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
So basically, you're pretty much famous. We should pretty much listen, guys. Just so you know, she's famous. Because when you are around that and people, they come to you because they see that you're worthy of being in their presence, and you obviously could have said the same thing. So you did have a certain level of fame.
I
so
did.
I'm literally talking to a
star.
Wow.
I would say that.
That's pretty awesome. So now what was the most fulfilling thing about being a model?
Well, people enjoying my beauty, just embracing who I was as a person.
Yeah.
I think I changed a lot of people's lives because the younger girls looked up to me. And every time we did shows, they would want me to go out first to break the ice because I would get the crowd going because I just had this personality that it was so bubbly and people loved me so much. So I just loved being a people person. I just love people. I have a heart for people.
Yeah.
I help a lot of people.
Yeah.
In many different ways.
So in a lot of ways, you were really a role model to these people.
I was, to these younger girls. Yeah.
And see, that's always good because, you actually saw both sides of the coin. You saw what it was like when you were being looked down upon, and now that you're being held up high. And so that obviously gave you, like, the knowledge to really understand. They may have been going through some things you were going through as far as having lack of self-belief and thinking that they weren't good enough. And so you probably elevated that even with just them seeing you holding your head high. Yeah. So I like that that's one of those things, I always talk about the dirty truth where you turn your trash into treasure. So the trash was when people were making fun of you and dogging you. The treasure is how you were able to flip it around and make it an advantage.
Yes.
So I love that. So it probably made you feel more empowered. Would you say that it made you feel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would walk on that stage and I would command their attention, and I was getting a lot of attention. I got pictures. I got my memories.
Wow.
I was looking at them the other day, and I said, "Wow!" I did a lingerie show in Cleveland Heights, and the laundry, they had me in a newspaper, and I was the honey of the week.
Wow!
I still got that newspaper clipping. It is old, but I still got it. I look so beautiful in that picture.
Wow! What would I have to do to become the honey of the week? Like seriously, obviously the missus, Billy Badass, she is my honey, but I want her to see me as the honey of the week. So what would you recommend? I'm not going to wear a leotard. That could be a disaster.
You can put a little oil of lay on.
Oh, yeah.
And put your oil of lay on and just, just strut your stuff. Just be you, because you are a great person.
Yeah.
I wanted to meet you when I first saw you on the news.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. It was something about your presence. And I said, you know what? I want to meet this young man.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I think he's a blessing. And then I read your testimony. I said, he's powerful.
Yeah.
This man has been through a lot.
That's interesting. So just, for those that are the uninitiated, we actually, like I said, we met about 2.5 years ago, the end of 22, at least not in person, but it was over the internet is Messenger. That when we became, acquainted with each other online. And I had been on the television because I was the ghostwriter for someone's memoirs, Wayne Dawson, actually. And that's how you sought me out, because you saw me on there, and then you contacted me on Facebook.
Yes.
And really it's been, like I said, in November it'll be 3 years since that first happened. And so I received that. I appreciate that, because I think everyone's life should be a classroom for other people to be able to learn the things that you went through and grew through, using it to show other people, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And so that's kind of why it's very important for me to always do that. And I know because you advocate for that as well. And because all the things that you have gone through, always remember that life never happens to you, it happens for you. Yes. And it's obvious that you have been able to channel that into something powerful, and you're just going to get better with that. Now, with the modeling thing, how did you come across these celebrities? Were they just naturally?
They were at some of the shows.
Wow.
Life Jennings was at one of my shows. He autographed one of his first CDs before he became famous. I have an autographed CD of his that he autographed. He told me I was one of the sweetest people he's ever met.
Wow.
Kevin Garnett actually said the same thing. He said,
wow.
You are one of the nicest people I've ever met. I met him at the hotel I used to work at. That's before I modeled. But I met him at the Renaissance Hotel. I used to work there when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I met, like I said, a lot of celebrities. I met Stacey Bell. Stacey Bell, and that's when I was modeling. She used to come to the post office, and she said how beautiful I was. And I'm like, we used to sit and argue who was more beautiful. I said, Stacey Bell, she was on Fox 8 as well.
Yes.
She left Fox 8 to go to New York. She told me she was leaving. I'm like, oh, it's so sad. But yeah,
wow.
I've been blessed to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, very
a lot
blessed.
of celebrities.
So one thing I would have to say is I know that you were in the Naval Academy. Was that the Naval?
U.S. Navy, correct.
The U.S.
in
Navy?
93, I'm sorry.
You went into 1993?
I went in August 17th, 1993.
Wait, what high school did you go to?
West Tech.
Okay, so West Tech. Now, what made you want to go? Because, like, for me, I look at the military as something terrifying. Now, my youngest daughter, she's in the Marines, which I think is, like, amazing.
Yeah.
But what would make you want to go into something that seems to be so hard?
It was. Well, my grandmother, she was my everything. I mean, she pretty much raised me most of my life. She died, and I didn't have a plan. So my plan was to do something with my life instead of being on the streets, because I grew up in the streets. I'm not going to lie to you. I grew up in the streets, something that I'm not proud of.
Right.
But she made me think about what I wanted to do with my life. I couldn't swim, so the Navy really wasn't a good idea.
Right.
But I just decided to go. The recruiter came. He said I would be a good candidate, but I didn't weigh enough. I was very small. I was always tiny. I weighed like 90 something pounds, and he said, well, you got to weigh 106. So they fed me some bananas on the weigh-in day, and I was able to get a 10-pound waiver.
Wow.
But yeah, I just, it was something about the Navy that made me want to go. So I went, and I was proud of myself. Boot camp was hard, very hard. Running, the push-ups, the sit-ups. I was not really prepared for all that. It was hard, but I made it through. And then I couldn't swim that well. So on the last day of the day of graduation is when I passed my swim test.
Wow. So
I was blessed. It was my parents were there, my mom was there, her boyfriend was there. Everybody was there to celebrate my graduation. I almost didn't graduate.
Wow.
So that's a blessing.
Yeah, that is a blessing. You know, what that really shows me is that you have a certain tenacity and a stick-to-itiveness that a lot of people don't have, because I know if it were me, especially when something is hard that I'm not crazy about. Now, if it's something that I'm crazy about, I'll stick with it, but something like that, I'll be like, man, wait, you want me to run? Yeah, I'm not doing that. You want me to do? Oh, I'm not doing that. But the fact that you just persevered, that is so huge, because again, those are the things that matter more than anything. That's part of your self-worth. You know, there's a difference between self-esteem and self-worth. Self-esteem is, oh, I look good because I wear this jacket or this shirt and it's my favorite and I look good. But tomorrow you wear something different, you don't feel good about yourself. Self-worth is always there because it's the sum total of everything you've meant to the world. And so your awareness of it is not always there. So you can be this amazing person as far as your self-worth, but if you don't know about it, then you just think you're nothing. But all along you were just building up your entire resume of things that you can look back on and say, I can help this person, I can serve this person. If I get into a bind 10 years from now, I know how to handle it because I went through it 10 years before. So the fact that you were able to climb a mountain that you were not able to even fathom before, like, oh, you know, being that low weight, you got to get to 106 pounds, and you was able to do it with bananas of all things. I just think that's amazing. It just shows that you have a can-do attitude. Yes. I like that. Now, there was something that you did tell me that was really dark that happened when you were in the Navy. You know, talk about that.
I will. I was sleeping in my room. I had a roommate. I was sleeping in my room, and she had a boyfriend that was interested in me, and I didn't know that. He used her to get to me. So I'm in my room sleeping. It's late because I had a tour in the morning. So I went to bed early. I heard the door open, but I thought it was her. But it was her boyfriend. And he came in and got on top of me and raped me. Brutally raped me.
Wow.
And he was over 200-something pounds. I was nothing but 100-something pounds.
Now, have you ever seen him before?
Yeah, all the time.
So you guys were acquainted, like?
Yeah, I knew him from her. he dated her to get to me. He never was interested in her.
Wow.
So it was hard. Mentally, I was screwed up. Mentally, he messed me up. He messed up my career. I wanted to get out. I felt like the military did not protect me. It should never have happened to me. And I was only 21 years old. I had only been in 2 years. So, yeah, I was time for me to go. And me and her ended up becoming friends, even though she testified against me in court.
Wow.
She testified for him. They were saying I was excuse my language, but I was a slut. I deserved what I had coming. And his friends threatened to kill me. So I just wanted to come home. I didn't feel safe, So he got 8 years in prison.
Wow.
Kicked out the military because he was in the service. He was a service member. And they let me know every time they transferred him to different prisons. I was notified. So I still have the letters and everything of when they transferred him and when he was released. It just messed up my life. He messed up my life.
That sounds absolutely devastating. First off, you're a young woman. On top of that, you can barely fight back because you're so small, and the size difference is significant.
Yes.
And then thirdly, it was probably someone that you never thought anything like that would ever happen.
Yes.
And then to be attacked while you're in bed, sleeping with your guard down.
Yes.
All of those things is just horrific. You're away from home, you're away from your family.
Yes.
I can't even begin to imagine that. And those are the types of things that no matter how much healing you do, they stay with you on some level forever.
Yes.
And so my heart goes out to you with that. But I love the fact that you said that he actually was put in prison for that.
Yes.
So why is it that his girlfriend testified against you?
She was in love with him. And she ended up getting married. After he went to prison, she ended up dating someone else. And they got married. They had a child, a little boy named Glenn. I never will forget this. They had a son named Glenn. Glenn, she asked me would I be his godmother. I used to babysit him sometime. I forgave her. I'm a very forgiving person, Deante. I forgave her. And what happened was, one day they had gotten into an argument and I was getting ready to come home for the weekend. My mom was coming to get me. So she said, Shawnda, can you keep the baby? I don't want to leave the baby with him. Because we had an argument and he has temper problems. So I said, well, I'm getting ready to leave. My mom is actually on her way. When I came back from leave, being with my mom, he had killed the baby. He had shook the baby to death.
Wow.
He killed the little Glenn. Look, I had pictures of the little boy and everything. Yeah, he killed the little boy.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So when I told you I have a lot to talk about, this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
I have had a lot of things happen in my life.
Yeah, well, first off, like I said, to have something like that, and I like also what you said, the military did not protect you, and that's a very important thing to realize. It's one of those things that can make you just have this mistrust for everyone going forward, because if the military is not going to protect you, then who will?
Right.
So I can't even imagine how you were able to cope with that in the immediate aftermath and in the years after that. But how would you say that you have come out of that? Would you say that you found like a silver lining from that experience?
I would not.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. I would not.
Okay.
Because I suffered mental issues. I have to see 3 or 4 different doctors to help me. I had multiple nervous breakdowns, like 10, from just the mental part of it. Ended up in the psych ward many times. Being away from my child being taken away from me. I've been through a lot. That man messed up my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Yes.
That's what I believe. I don't believe I'm not going to let him win. If I got to get all the help I need mentally, I will. Because I'm not ashamed of what I've been through. I'm not, Deante.
Yeah.
I'm very proud. It made me who I am today. I was able to resign from my job at the post office, and the job from the post office, the VA said, hey, we know what you've been through. We understand. They weren't paying me but 30% for years. And I should have been at 100%, but I was young and didn't know any better. So what happened was, one day I had a real bad nervous breakdown. Ended up in the psych ward. They said, you know what, Shawnda, you don't have to go back to your job. Quit your job. We're going to take care of you. You're going to collect 2 pensions, not one, but 2 pensions. And you're going to be taken care of for the rest of your life. That's God.
Right, that is God. So, in other words, you're saying the psych ward, that whole situation, was that from what happened in
the rape? The rape, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Man. But I know you said that you don't see a silver lining from it, but to me, the silver lining is that, like you said, that you have gotten stronger and tougher and all these types of things, and you're a survivor, like you said. So just being a survivor means that you are looking at it as though, listen, I'm no one's victim. And that's amazing, because there's so many people that are volunteer victims, meaning that they allow themselves to still be crushed by it. Now, if that's the way a person handles it, that's their prerogative, of course. But I love the fact that you're saying, listen, I am not going to be under this person's thumb forever. And you're taking a stand against that. And then, like I said, you were compensated for it. Of course, no amount can ever compensate for the pain and suffering that you endured. But I love the fact that you just kept moving forward. You didn't stay stagnant. Whatever you had to deal with and go through, and the misery, and I'm sure right now you probably still are affected in terms of having moments where it feels like it's real or like it just happened. I just love that you just have this strength, because that takes a lot of strength to go through that. And I just can't even imagine it. And I just hate that it happened to you. I really do, because I mean, to take something like that from someone that you can't give back, I mean, that's horrible. It's almost like a life sentence for yourself. I mean, he went to prison, but you were in your own mental prison.
Yes.
So it's not like it was real justice, because you're like in prison at the same time as him, just in a different version of it.
Yes.
So that's really horrible. What happened when you finally got out of that situation with modeling? How long did it take you to get out of modeling?
I did modeling from 27 to 30. Well, then when I turned 30, I started working for the post office. And actually, I was doing both, the post office and modeling. So I did that, and then I just couldn't do it. I just started having mental issues. I tried so hard to just get through it, but it was hard because it kept haunting me. I would have to sleep with the lights on. I would take scalding hot showers. I mean, my skin would be red from just taking hot showers. That's how mentally it was messing me up.
Wow.
I mean, nothing was helping at first. See, nobody knows my struggle, staying up all night for 3-4 days in a row, not being able to get out of bed. I was hearing voices. They had to find the medication that worked for me, because I was hearing voices. I was. Yeah. I was hearing voices. It was hard. I've been through so much. Like I said, some days I ask God, why am I so worthy? Why do you love me so much?
Yeah.
And he just always says, because you're worth it.
Yeah, you are.
You're a beautiful person. You love everybody you come in contact with. You love them. You show them some form of love and compassion. But I will share this, because I want to share this, because I know we don't have a lot of time. But I ended up trying to take my life. I planned it all out. I got the medication from the VA. I said, I'm going to order all these pills. And that's what I did. I ordered a bunch of pills, because they kept giving me like 90-day supplies. So I was like, okay, I'm going to plan it out. So the one day the pills came, I said, you know what? I'm doing it today. So I lived in Willow Arms at the time in Euclid, those apartments in Euclid. Yeah. And my son had went to bed, and I was sitting up with the pills, and I was just thinking, like, if I do this, I know I'm not going to see my son again. So I took the pills. I took a lot. I took a whole lot, bottles. And I laid on the floor. That's all I remember. I laid on the floor, and I just sprawled out with my hands out like this. And my son woke up at 4 a.m. This is the story they told me, because I was in a coma for 3 days. When my son woke up at 4 a.m, I was unresponsive. He couldn't wake me up. So he called my mom, He called my friend Marvin. Marvin lives in Bedford. Marvin got to my house in like 15 minutes from Bedford. That's how fast he was flying. He said he didn't care about getting pulled over. He wanted to get to me. My mom came. They called 911. They came in. They didn't know what I had taken. They didn't know if I took drugs. They didn't know what I took. So they took that needle that they stick in your heart, stuck it in my heart, and then they couldn't wake me up. So they had to rush me out of there. They cut my shirt open to, get to my heart. And then once they couldn't even bring the stretcher in the apartment. It was so small. So once they did that, they got me to the hospital. They said, you know what? You guys might as well come say goodbye to her because she's never going to wake up. And if she does, she's going to be a vegetable or she's never going to be the same, is what the doctors told my family. My mom begged the doctors for 3 days not to pull the plug on me because they told them the first day that they might as well pull the plug on me. But my mom was my next of kin, so she said, no, don't do it. Give her a chance. And that's what they did. So on that third day when I woke up, I was angry with God. I said, God, why did you wake me up? Why? Why? I don't deserve this. I didn't want to live. I didn't think about my son. I thought about him, but I knew that he would be okay because my mom would take care of him. It was about me. I was hurting. I felt like a failure. I had got married. My marriage failed. Everything was just not going good. I was in a dark place. And then when I woke up and I asked him why, he said, because it's not your life to take. It's not. And
that's what God said.
That's what God said to me. That's what God said to me because I asked him. I was angry. I put everybody out the room. I said I don't want to see nobody. I put everybody out the room. They said, you know what? You ain't supposed to be here.
Do you have any idea as to what triggered you in the moment that you decided to do this, to actually go forward with trying to do it?
What triggered me was the rape, the stress of the post office. That job was stressing me out. I didn't want to go anymore. I was not happy in my life. My marriage had failed. I had been married in 2010. My marriage had failed. He left me and got somebody else pregnant. So that was a downer for me. I just felt like I wasn't worthy of living. Mm-hmm. I just felt I didn't want to live.
And you said this was in 2010 when
Yes.
this happened? Wow. I see, the thing is, I know that suicide is such a very prominent problem with so many people.
Yes.
And, I hear people all the time say, I didn't want to be here anymore. And I can't personally imagine things being so hard. So I guess I'm lucky to not have ever contemplated that. Yes. Do you have any idea how you are able to make it make sense to you that this is the best choice?
To be alive?
To kill yourself. How do you come to say, everything in my life is whatever it is. I got a son. Yeah, I know my mom will take care of him, but this is the best choice. Like, how do you get to a place to feel that killing yourself is the best choice?
That's a very good question, Deante. That's a very good question. A very hard question for me. Because, like I said, I felt like a failure. Even though I had many accomplishments in my life, I modeled, I did this, I did that. I had a lot of great things happening for me, but inside I was not happy with who I was. I did not love Shawnda. That was the problem. That was it right there. That's the answer. I didn't love Shawnda. Shawnda didn't love herself. But today, at 51 years old, you couldn't pay me to take my life. I got too much going for myself. I have a beautiful home. I have a brand new car. I have a beautiful son. I have so much going for myself. I'm not going to go the easy way out no more. It's not worth it. That's why I've been sharing my testimony with so many people. It has helped so many people. I just shared it the other day with a young lady and her daughter's in college. One of her college friends committed suicide. And I was able to talk to her daughter and help her daughter through her grief because of what I went through. So it's a blessing to be able to have this testimony because a lot of people don't make it through. They die. My mom died. I lost my mom.
Yeah, see, this is all, this all goes into the category of, like I said, sharing your dirty truth, because it really helps so many people. In church a few weeks ago, Pastor Dawson said that we all have to go through trials because it's the only way that we can be able to tell people how good God is, because God is always the one that rescues you from the abyss, and that situation is a perfect representation of that. I'm just very, very impressed by your resilience. The entirety of your life experiences is something that's like a masterclass for how to overcome emotional trauma. And I just think that you have more greatness in you than you realize. Now, I know that you told me that you were married. And for me, relationships have always been, let's just say, a shit show. And it's not just because of the other person. It's either been them, me, or the combination of us together. With that being said, my marriage now is the most incredible relationship in the history of my relationships. And as you guys can see, I'm officially taken. Very taken. But with that being said, for you, you told me that you've been married before.
Yeah.
How many times?
Just once.
Just once?
Just
okay.
once.
Now, was that happily ever after, or was it like
No,
the pit
it
of
was,
hell?
No, it was very toxic. I met him in church off 131st. I was going to a church over there, Believer's Temple. And he was younger than me, of course. It was the age gap. And I can't remember exactly how many years, maybe 10.
Okay.
And we met. He was dating somebody else at the time, but he broke up with her to be with me, and I kind of regret doing that, because that's how our marriage failed, because how it started is how it's going to end, and I'm not ashamed. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
He I did everything for him. I was a good wife, cook, clean, make sure he had everything he needed, but wasn't enough, He cheated. He went on and, messed with somebody else. And I think he had a baby. I'm not sure. That's what I heard. But, yeah, I was good to him. I was a good wife. Even bought him a car.
Wow.
Not ashamed.
Okay.
Not ashamed.
So the relationship you had, was it awesome at first, and then it just gradually turned into some garbage? Or
Yes. That's how it was. You said it. You hit the head on the nail.
Okay.
It definitely started out basically... I'm pure bliss. I'll say that. Pure bliss. I mean, intimacy was beautiful, passionate, everything. And then it just turned into, excuse my language, shits.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you married?
About 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that he really, really got down to just being like a jerk pretty quickly.
Yes, pretty quickly.
Now, can you come to a conclusion as to what made everything go off the rails? Because there's always a flashpoint moment where things go from one way to the other way.
Yes, his mom didn't like me. His grandmother didn't like me. They said because I couldn't have any more children. And they said that I wasn't, because they wanted grandchildren. I understand that, but he knew that when he married me, I couldn't have any more children.
Right.
So his mom told him to move out with me, because they actually lived at the corner of my street. His mother lived like right around the corner from me, and he moved in with her, left me, moved in with her. I said, one thing you ain't doing is taking this car. So he left the car, so that was a good thing, because I took it back to the dealership and said, hey, it didn't work out, I'm just taking the car back, and I end up having to pay extra, because once you drive it off the lot, it's not worth this, what it was when you bought the car. So I owe money on it.
So it's kind of like your husband. The minute you drove him off the lot, he wasn't worth
exactly.
It's like, hey, this thing is depreciating already.
Yes, you are so funny. But yes, like I said, I'm not ashamed of my life. My life is an open book, because I know I'm not the only one that's been through something. And I had people tell me when I told them I was excited about doing this that, well, you got to be careful what you say and all that. I don't have a problem with sharing my life, because it's going to bless somebody. Everybody is out here has done something they are ashamed of or don't want nobody to know about. But just me personally, I don't give a damn. Excuse my language. I don't.
Yeah, every one of us.
Yes, every one of us. Each and every one of us. If you're human, you've made mistakes.
Yep.
So don't be ashamed.
Yeah.
Tell your truth.
Well, the funny thing is that when people say stuff like that, that just, to me, that makes them seem like they are a coward, because the strongest thing you can do is show what's perceived as weakness in public. It's not weakness, but that's the strongest thing you can do. Like, crying and being emotional and being transparent about your past experiences. Listen, I don't live there anymore. I live here now. Let's not tell it like it was. Let's tell it like it is. So when people think that, it's almost like it's some type of shame attached to it, and that's because that's the perception of so many people. But there is no shame. All you're doing is you're growing. And I always tell people, never apologize for any previous version of yourself, because it brought you to who you are now.
That's right.
And that's what actually infuses you with the value that you have. There's a reason why old folks, as they call them, are so wise, because they've been there and done that. If you're 45 years old, you have an information advantage over a 12-year-old or a 20-year-old. And it comes from, you never learn anything the way you learn it when you do things wrong. When you do things right, it's like, oh, that's it. But when you do something wrong, you're like, oh, won't do that again, or I'll do it differently next time.
Right.
And so it's just trial and error is always a part of the come up. And when I say the come up, I mean to elevate your mind and to grow and evolve as a person. So people that tell you that, they're ashamed of who they are. But like I say, if it doesn't define you, it can't confine you. If someone is a crackhead but they are a generous, kind person or something like that, the crackhead, that shouldn't define you. The fact that you do drugs shouldn't define you. Right. It's the spirit and the heart and what you put into the world that should define you.
Right.
So everything that you're telling me right now, I would say, give the middle finger to whoever says, oh, be careful what you share. What you mean, be careful what you share? There's somebody in the world that knows pretty much everything you've done or something that you've done. These people may not know it, but you want to be straightforward with yourself. That's how you get a great relationship with yourself. And like I say, there's 3 people that you should have a great relationship with. Number 1 with God, number 2 with yourself, and number 3 with your former self. Because that's the person that, again, brought you to who you are now.
That's right.
You couldn't do what you do now if it wasn't for 30-year-old you, 20-year-old you, 26-year-old you. You couldn't be who you are now. You would be very lacking. You wouldn't have the knowledge to give your son all these years about things that you've been there and done and he was new to. You can say, hey, whatever you do, if you're going to move into Willow Arms, don't do it because the place is too small. Right. You can say all these types of things. That's just one example, but there's a lot of life lessons to be learned and to be able to put out, how they say, each one teach one. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you, Deante.
Of course.
I have something else I wanted to share that is really important that I share. It's about what Euclid Police did to me. One time I was having a nervous breakdown, right? And I was trying to keep them from coming in my house. I had a screen door, and I was trying to keep them from coming in because I was afraid. I was always afraid of the police when I had nervous breakdowns, because they don't really know how to deal. Because I had heard stories and I had saw things about how they treat people with mental illness. That's something I'm not ashamed of as well, because I do suffer from that due to what I've been through.
What type of mental illness?
Mental illness, I have PTSD, schizophrenia with bipolar disorder, major depression, and so on and so forth, many more.
Okay.
But I'm here.
Right.
And I have my right frame of mind.
Yes.
Because I take my medication like I'm supposed to every day. I'm not ashamed.
Right.
So what I did was my son was scared. And I believe he called 911 to help me, not to call them to hurt me. So they came in, they actually cut my screen and cut my hand, and blood was everywhere because they were trying to get in my house. Once they got in, they threw me to the floor. It was 2 white cops. It was a female and male. They threw me to the floor, sat on my back. They kept telling me to stop resisting. First of all, I said, I'm not resisting because you're sitting on my back. So then they said, stop resisting. And then they tased me several times, to the point where I thought I was going to die, Deante. So then it was to the point where I ended up having a bowel movement on myself. So they took me out of my home with my son and took me to Euclid Hospital, because I lived in Euclid at the time. And the nurse that was cleaning me up, I was so embarrassed because she had to clean me up. They had me handcuffed to the bed like I was a criminal, which I wasn't. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you have to do this. She said, no, sweetheart. It's okay. I'm sorry. She said, don't be sorry. She said, this is my job. Because I was embarrassed that she had to clean me up,
right.
you know, and it was just like, they just don't have, Euclid is very, very prejudiced.
Yeah.
They are. And I hate I bought my house there. If I knew what I knew now, I would have never purchased my home in Euclid. And I'm not ashamed, Deante, because I could be dead right now. The way they were tasing me, I should be dead. And my son was crying and saying, get off my mom, get off my mom. I just remember all of that. See, the Lord allowed me to remember certain things, even when I was going through mental things, because he wanted to show me that, look what I'm doing for you, Shawnda. You don't have to be here, but I'm blessing you and allowing you to, you can share this with other people.
Yeah.
Because so many people have died at the hands of police officers with mental illness. So I did want to share that because that was on my heart to share.
Yeah, it's just further evidence that, you know, you're always here for a reason. You're here on purpose for a purpose. And so things like that could very easily take you out of here does not, because we all know that God is always above what we think. God is always working, like my grandmother say, in mysterious ways.
Yes.
And nothing is too hard for God.
That's
and,
right.
You know, so getting you out of those treacherous situations is all a part of it, all a part of the plan. You know, she would always say, God is in this plan. And I think that whatever they did and tasing you like that and just all that disrespect, sometimes you just can't give certain people too much power because they run with it and then they get drunk on power. But I'm glad that you rose above all of that.
Yes, thank you.
You know, especially because, you know, cops, they get away with so many things. And there are some good cops out there, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about
the bad ones.
Yeah, we're talking about these.
Yeah.
Now, I know that, you know, you have this very, very horrific situation happen with you regarding your mom.
Yes.
And that's something that really, really touches me because my mom is such an amazing mom. So, you know, tell us about the situation with your mom.
Okay. Well, my mom was a very beautiful woman, like myself. I look just like her. With my glasses on, I look just like my mom. Out of all my sisters, 4 of us, 4 girls. And out of all of the girls, I looked the most like my mom. So what happened was she had been texting me. She had been staying with me actually for 7 months. You know, and I would go to her apartment. She had her apartment, but she was staying with me. And she was, you know, she had mental issues as well. I do. She did. So she was texting me, I don't want to be alone. So I was like, well, just come over here, you know. So she came over and watched the Cavs game. It was a Cavs game. I never will forget. It was a Tuesday. It was a Cavs game. And we made tacos. We had made turkey tacos. And she said, it was weird because she was saying goodbye to me. It was her way of saying goodbye because I wasn't feeling too well after we ate. So I went upstairs and I didn't have sheets on my bed because I was washing them. So she actually came upstairs and laid beside me on my bed. And she had like OCD type stuff where she normally wouldn't do that. Yeah. So when she did it, it was like she was just staring at me. And I'm like, what's wrong, Ma? And she didn't say anything. She just stared at me. So that night she went home. This particular night she went home. That was Tuesday. On Friday I got this like really eerie feeling something wasn't right. So we text back and forth. I even got her a phone to make sure that she's able to talk to me because her other phone was acting up. So I bought her a phone. And I kept texting. I said, what's going on? You okay? I said, you know, you need anything? She was like, no, I'm okay. She's like, but do you know I love you? Just always remember I love you. And I'm like, I love you too. So me and my son, like I said, I got this eerie feeling. So me and my son went to her house. And she wasn't answering the door. So we didn't get into the apartment. She was answering the buzzer, you know, that you ring downstairs. Yeah. So we buzzed another apartment and was able to get in. So she had this little knob lock on her door that you can't like turn the knob because it's like a lock on there. So to keep from opening her door. So I called the police because then I got worried because she wasn't opening the door. So they came in about 15 minutes. They came a little later. And he asked me to leave. He said, I need you to go downstairs. So when they came upstairs, the door was open. She had opened the door, and he came out of the apartment. He came downstairs, and he said, "I need to talk to you." I said, "What's going on?" And he was like, "She's expired." And I said, "Wow." It was raining. I was outside. It was pouring down rain. I fell to my knees. I was screaming and hollering. I went inside they let us come in the building at some point, and I saw them bring out 4 bottles of sleeping pills, and she had literally just passed away. Literally just passed away. She was still. They let us go in and see her after they did their work and everything. They let us go in and look at her, and she had like bitter lip. Her lip was bleeding, and she had her eyes were open. This is a sight I would never get out of my head because I saw it,
Yeah.
and it affected all of us. She didn't feel love. She told me that she didn't feel love. She didn't feel appreciated, but she knew I loved her because I was there. Those last 7 months, I went to doctor's appointments. I fed her. She wasn't taking her meds like she was supposed to. That's why she wasn't thinking clearly when she did what she did. But I was there for her. I supported her wholeheartedly. But yeah, it affected my son. It affected me. It affected a lot of us.
You're saying that she left the door open on purpose?
For the whoever to get in. I guess maybe us. I don't know. Maybe, but the police went in before me. Once we went outside, waited for the police. They said stay outside, and then they went in, and that's when they said the door was open. They didn't have to bust it open or nothing. It was unlocked.
And this wasn't too many years ago, was it?
This was in 2018.
Yeah, so we're talking
December 21st, 2018, 4 days before Christmas.
Almost 7 years ago.
Yes.
And that obviously, like you said, you'll never forget the look that you saw.
Yes.
And that's going to be etched in your brain forever. That sounds like the most calamitous thing because, they always say when your mom's gone, that's...
Oh, that was it for me.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine. Now, I know you said that she helped you in some way.
Yeah, she saved me.
Yeah.
She saved me. So without her, I wouldn't be here today.
So when you were trying to do what you were trying to do.
Yeah, she was there. She was the one that told the doctors not to pull the plug on me because they told her, you might as well pull the plug on this young lady. She's not coming back. But she believed with all her heart that I was coming back. Deante, she believed that. And she was right. They said my sister walked in the hospital room when I was in my coma, and she slapped me so hard from being upset that I did what I did, that I tried to leave them, that I reacted when she slapped me. I mumbled and I moved. So they knew I was going to be okay.
So when she died, now I know you said that she knew that you loved her, but you're saying that the reason why she did that is probably because she didn't feel it from anyone else?
She told me. She told me that.
She just didn't feel love from anyone else.
Well, she knew my son loved it. Let me correct that. She knew my son loved it. They were very close. Mm-hmm. Out of all her grandchildren, she had like 4 or 5 grandchildren. My son and her were close.
Was it anything she was dealing with? You think it could have just been a love issue, or was it just any pressure in her life, or?
I think she missed her mom, Deante. I think she missed her mom. She was an only child, and when when her mom died, back when I was 19 years old, it affected her because she was an only child. My grandmom didn't raise her. My aunt raised my mom. So that was like triggering. She missed her mom.
Is there anything that you can think of leading up to those days, even if it was weeks before, that you can say, you know what, that was a warning sign that she might do something?
Oh, yeah,
like
definitely.
What do you think the warning signs were?
The warning signs would have been her texting me, I don't want to be alone. I just don't want to do this alone. I was like, what are you talking about? She kept saying she didn't want to be alone. She stressed that, Deante. And I didn't get it. I didn't see that she didn't want, that she wanted to, because she tried it before, actually. Let me go back. Around Mother's Day, around May, she went to J&L Motel in Wickliffe, checked in, tried to take her life. They found her at checkout time because she didn't check out on time. So they went in there with the police, and she was on the floor, unresponsive. They took her to the hospital, the one on Euclid Avenue. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Lake West?
Yeah, yes. They took her there. They put the IV. They couldn't find the vein in her arm, so they put it in her neck. So she almost succeeded in May. But they went in and found her unresponsive.
So between your suicide attempt and her successful suicide attempt, it's like just such a dark cloud on the family, because it's so heartbreaking to the highest level that it's almost incalculable just how heartbreaking. From both of those incidents, what would you give as advice for someone that is in that dark place, based on your experiences with yourself and with her, to get them to hopefully not make that decision or go through with it?
I would say talk to someone. Don't hold it in like we did. I held it in. Nobody knew what I was doing because I didn't tell nobody. I didn't talk to nobody and tell them how I was feeling unloved, unwanted, dark, in a dark place. If I had to talk to somebody, I probably wouldn't have did what I did. But I had a lot of people like hurt my feelings and tell me, well, that's a coward way, and that's weak, and that's selfish, and they don't understand that hurt my feelings because I'm very sensitive, like my mom. But I would tell people, if I had anything to say, pray to God, talk to God. You don't have, if you don't feel like you can talk to people or they won't understand, talk to God, because it works. When I have those nights where I feel like I have suicidal thoughts sometimes to this day, but I pray and I tell God, take those thoughts away from me. The devil has been trying to take me for a long time, Deante, a very long time, but God got me. God ain't let me go nowhere.
You got that right.
And I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the enemy knows our weaknesses for sure.
He does.
And that, like I said, my heart goes out to you because, you're obviously a beautiful person inside and out. And I'm like you said, you look just like your mom with glasses on.
Yes.
I'm sure that she also put a lot of good in you, She probably put a lot of good in you, and that has a lot to do with why you are who you are. And I really appreciate you really sharing that, because you're giving people something to possibly think about. I know sometimes people say, oh, I didn't feel like I was being heard. And that's probably another thing too when people make that decision. But this is very strong and serious stuff, and I'm just glad that you're being an advocate for a solution to the problem.
Well, I'm always going to be an advocate, Deante. I put my life on the line just to make sure that nobody goes through what I went through, with losing my mom to the same thing that almost took me out of here. So if I can help one person, if I could just save one person, Deante, I'm doing a service to God. Because that's what it's all about for me. I do the work for God. I don't do it for myself. I don't get glorification for myself. I get it for God. Because God told me that He gonna save me for that reason. To make sure that I can help other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So He can get the glory.
So He can get the glory.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen, Deante.
This question I want to ask you is the last question.
Okay.
If you could have any type of energy around you, what type of energy would that be from people?
Well, honestly, loving energy, passionate energy, affectionate, because I'm very affectionate. I love to hug. I love just people that have a positive attitude about life, not Debbie Downers. I don't want to be around Debbie Downers.
Right.
I don't want pity parties. The reason why I chose to do this podcast is because I knew that it would help somebody. And I know that all that I've been through, like I said, people said negative things about me doing it, but it didn't matter what they said. I told you I wanted to do this. And I have been thinking about this for a very long time. People told me I should have my own podcast. It's just I haven't gotten into that part of it yet.
We got to make that happen.
You think so?
Yeah, because your testimony, your dirty truth, all of that stuff. When I say trash to treasure, is not just taking bad and turning it to good, but you can also become, like I said, you can build a business from this, meaning going and coaching people how to come out of these things, because the world needs so much help. So that's something that you can absolutely do. Imagine you had an email newsletter that had advice, once a week that came to their inbox. There's a lot that can be done with this, and I'm going to be talking with you more about this because that's how much I believe in your story, because your story is our story. In some way, shape, or form, it's our story as a whole. And I just want to appreciate you and tell you that you are doing God's work. And there you have it. Shawnda's Dirty Truth was a powerful testimony that will serve and help so many people. We all find ourselves in a dark place at some point in our lives, and Shawnda has been courageous and brave enough to put hers out on the forefront for everyone to understand that life does get better if you only give it a try. So I want to thank Shawnda once again for showing up and also showing out. And guys, all of my dirty truthers, I want you to remember one important thing. Always embrace your dirty truth.